What the hell are we supposed to use, man? Harsh language?
All right, everyone. Better Call Saul, episode 9 of the final season in the books, was a very good episode.
Mm-hmm.
I think we all agreed it was like kind of starting out a little slow, but
Little slow.
it found its stride and delivered the time jump that we all predicted. We predicted it here first, folks. Just keep that in mind. The predictors.
The great time jump of our time has finally come to light here.
So before we get
the first one.
The first one.
Yes. Before we get into like the specifics of the episode, I just want to say, talking amongst ourselves, you had said, Marvin, like, do you think they'll jump back and forth in the next few episodes? And I had said no, but I kind of was thinking about it today. I do think that, because you have 4 episodes total left.
Yeah.
How could they fill 2 episodes or more in the Breaking Bad timeline now? Like with shit that
without
like
overlapping.
Like what's he doing in Breaking Bad that we haven't seen? Is it just going to be him doing stuff behind the scenes, but like while Breaking Bad's going on? I mean, I suppose they could do that.
What could happen? That time jump we saw could have been like a teaser for the actual time jump that comes at a later episode.
Could have been.
So the next episode, episode 10, could really just start, and we're still in the same time that we left off at before the time jump.
Yeah, that could be. The thing I thought of specifically is that because Kim leaving is kind of like a big deal.
Ooh, hurts, dude. That hurts my soul.
Yep.
Spoilers.
Spoilers, little.
So
we're recapping. It's not a spoiler.
So Kim leaving is kind of a big deal. I can't imagine they're just gonna like, oh, she's gone now. Here's 4 more episodes before you see like the finality of that. So like.
Right.
Maybe they'll jump back to show Jimmy like in the days and months like after her leaving, like him sort of dealing with that before he becomes like full on Saul Goodman from
it could be
Bad.
that like a little bit of time after Kim has left. I mean, they could also maybe like flash between and like show Kim doing some normie stuff, but I don't know how interesting that would be. Like, I don't know if they would want to show that.
You know, another funny thing that I was thinking of, because you had sent us the clip a couple days ago from Breaking Bad where Saul meets Badger for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And then he has his little, like, you know, tussle with Hank.
Yeah.
And he says to Badger, make the check out to whatever the company is.
Right.
And he goes, don't worry about it. It's just for tax purposes. I wonder if maybe that's like under Kim's name.
Oh, and she's, right.
Like, what do you think about that as a thing?
So you think she's like behind the scenes in the future?
Yeah, maybe.
They could write it in, but like I said, in the last episode, she is such a key character. It's hard to like, what's the word? Retro. What do you call it?
Retcon.
Retcon.
It's hard to like retcon her. Like, oh, she was here all along.
Right.
Just kidding.
The man,
you know?
the woman behind the curtain. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. Like, it would be. I may be okay with it, but that's a hard.
No, I think she's checking out.
You think she's gonna die?
No, I think she's checking out. Like, her and Jimmy, they did their shenanigans, they did their pranks, and they were kind of ruining Howard's life, but they didn't really want him to die. And like him dying, that's some seriousness. That's like a dose of reality that she wasn't ready for. So
right.
So
let's get into the episode. So this episode, speaking of Howard, picks up in the aftermath of the previous episode where Gus took out Lalo. You know, preceding Lalo taking out Howard. And this episode here starts off with basically Mike and his gang sort of cleaning up Jimmy and Kim's apartment while they're off living their normal days, pretending like nothing had happened. And they sort of come back to the apartment, and that's when Kim has that realization of like, oh fuck. I think that's when the severity of what had happened actually kicked in for her, because this is this huge.
They put Howard in the refrigerator.
This is this huge traumatic event that happened to them. Watching a man die in front of them, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
Them almost being killed, probably. Which is what Lala would have done, obviously. And her
almost having to kill somebody.
Yeah.
Right.
So this is
like
very
all those things combined, I think is what it's like the tipping point. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But in the last episode, she didn't seem okay with it, but she was kind of like the reality hadn't set in. So I think coming home from their day and seeing the apartment like just back to normal as if nothing had happened. I think that's what really did it for her, because she was just like, oh, well, like this crazy thing just happened. And now it's like nothing ever happened at all. Like, that's weird.
And I think she is just completely done with Jimmy, because she quit cold turkey, right? It's not like easing my way out of this relationship. She quit her job. She's like gonna leave the fucking state.
Gave
like
up
she's
her
going
license,
to start another life, dude.
Well,
she's
she
gonna
did
go
have,
be a Cinnabon manager in a different state.
maybe that's how they reconnect at the end of the series. They like go to a
The regional
Cinnabon
manager.
They go to a manager's conference or something, and so as
Cinecon?
Cinecon,
Yeah.
As we've touched on several times already. So Kim, by the end of the episode, she decides to leave Jimmy and disbar herself. She decides that she doesn't want to practice law anymore, and her explanation is that she's had the time of her life with Jimmy. She loves Jimmy. He loves her. Everything's great, but them together, they're too toxic. And we've mentioned this before talking about the show. Kim likes the pranks and the scams and the shenanigans her and Jimmy get up to. Obviously, neither of them wanted it to result in the death of a man. I mean, they did want to like ruin his life and career, but that's neither here nor there. They didn't want him to die. And she kind of realizes like, wow, us together, we're just like poison to the people around us. So for that, we should no longer be together. And she takes off. And the episode ends with a time jump to Saul Goodman in Breaking Bad timeline. And he sits down at his office chair. Oh, I thought for a second that was the moment we were going to see Walter White, but they're stringing us along. They're gonna save that for like a later episode, maybe the next one.
Right. That'd be great.
There was the little hint though when he's in the start of the scene. He's on his Bluetooth getting ready in the morning, and he's reading off his clients that he has to see for the day. He mentions the public masturbator, which he mistakes Badger for when he first meets him in Breaking Bad. He's going through the file and he goes, "Public masturbation. Can't you just do it at home like the rest of us with a nice flat screen TV?" And Badger's like, "No, that's not me. I got caught selling meth, allegedly."
Allegedly. Classic.
So this episode seems like it ended the day he meets Badger.
Yeah, as far as we can tell.
Right.
Or at least like a day or two before that, something around that time. But so this episode also felt like a closure of sorts for a lot of different characters. For Kim, obviously. Mike had like a scene of pretty solid closure involving Nacho's father. Mike sort of gets home from his day's work finally to relax because he's been living in Gus's like next door house in the bunker, protecting Gus. So he finally gets home. He's got like a pile of mail, and he's sitting down watching baseball, and he sees Nacho's father's business card, and he decides to go see him. And he basically tells him like, "Look, your son's not coming back. He made some mistakes. He got in with the wrong crowd, but he wasn't ever like them. He was he had a good heart." And that message doesn't go over too well with Nacho's father. Nacho's father sort of ends the conversation by saying, "You gangsters are all the same." This isn't I forget exactly what he says, but
Mike was basically telling, Mike was
justice.
basically telling that they get some reparations, and he's all, "It's not justice, it's vengeance."
Yeah,
and that are all the same.
And that speaks to the character of Nacho's father, because it didn't matter how good Nacho was as a person; he was still doing shitty things, right?
Right.
One could make the argument like Nacho really couldn't get out of the situation, because obviously when you're in those types, you can't just leave. It's not like, hey guys, I quit, give my 2 weeks notice. So, unfortunately, his father isn't really left with any peace. He lost his son. That's the way it is. But I guess at least he doesn't have to wait around hoping his son will come back at some point.
Yeah.
And Gus also gets some closure in this episode. Finally, he's free from the impending threat of Lalo Salamanca that he's been living with this season total.
Yeah. He thinks he's free.
He thinks he's free, but
that moment at the bar, he realizes,
goes to a bar and does a little flirting.
Yeah.
I'm not free at all.
Well, I think so. So basically, there's a really great scene with Gus where he basically opens up his shutters, and it's very symbolic. The sunlight comes spilling into the room, and it's like, a new day is upon me. And he goes to a wine bar and has some fancy wine. Probably is hitting on the waiter.
Definitely. Probably.
But he has a moment where he comes to the realization that he can't have this type of life. The life of he can't have a relationship, he can't have a partnership, because as long as he is, I think this is the moment he decides he's gonna. Well, he probably already knew this, but I think this is the moment where he realizes he's probably gonna kill, Don Eladio.
I think he had that moment when he was standing there looking at the pool.
Well, he's probably always felt this, but I think I think he knows that
type of guy that as soon as he saw him, he's like,
yeah,
you probably got to die one day.
Well, I mean, he killed he didn't. Hector did, but killed his friend / boyfriend guy.
Yeah.
But I think this moment was kind of telling, because he kind of just realizes hey, I can't have a normal life the way I want. And it doesn't. He looks angry in that scene. He gets that serious Gus face where it's like.
Yeah, I wanted to say the shift from how happy he was to that despair of realization was amazing to watch.
Well, Gus does that a lot throughout Breaking Bad too. It's one of the brilliances of the character, and also Juan Carlo Esposito. He on a dime changes his demeanor, and it makes him very scary as a character. So we touched on it for a second there. So there's a scene in this episode where Gus actually goes to Mexico, and he goes to meet Don Eladio, Don Bolsa, Hector Salamanca, and the Murder Twins. And basically he was called there because Hector, apparently according to what we're seeing, told Don Eladio, hey, my nephew Lalo told me he's got all this dirt on fucking Gus, and Gus is the one that set up Lalo. They also they've crafted this little lie, and I think Don Bolsa's in on it, because Hector doesn't say verbally because he can't speak, but it's alluded to that Hector's story was that they found Lalo's body burnt. And then Don Bolsa backs that up by saying, yeah, my brother who's a federale confirmed it's his dental records. So it seems like they're in cahoots to sort of get rid of Gus. But Don Eladio doesn't want to hear any of it. He has Don Hector carried into fucking the house as he's ringing the bell all the way. And he basically kind of doesn't give a shit. He's like, hey, we just got to keep the peace. It doesn't really matter. Because like we've joked about this before, Gus is an earner.
He is an earner.
So
makes the money.
Money talks.
And my people would call that a made man, Marvin.
That's right.
He's a made man. Can't be touched. So there is a cool moment, though, where Don Eladio says to Gus, I see the hate in you. He's like, a little bit is okay. Just remember who's the boss. So he knows that Gus hates him.
Mm-hmm.
And he's cool with it. He's like, hey, listen, just don't fucking, watch your step.
That's right.
Yep. A little bit of hate's okay, as long as there's a little bit of respect coming with it too.
Yeah. So lots of cool stuff in this episode. Like we said, some closure for some characters and some of the plot threads. And it ends in a time jump, showing us Saul in Breaking Bad timeline, and we have 4 episodes left. I still think that the series is going to end in actual present day Cinnabon Jimmy, and he's going to probably, I think, reconnect with Kim after all these years. What do you guys think that's like? Are you guys on the same page as me, or do you think something else is going to happen there?
Yeah, I think so. I'm hoping for the Kim reunion, but I don't know. That may be too
Dusty.
Yeah, the Kim reunion is it's on the fence. It may happen. We may get everything, a little bow tie and everything there, but I definitely think we'll see a time jump. At least in the last episode, we'll get 2 or 3 episodes in the Breaking Bad timeline, and maybe some jumps back and forward, but it'll end in present day. I'm almost sure of it.
Yeah, that will happen. I just mean like what will be the outcome of his story. There's no way they're just gonna let this guy like live out his remaining days as a Cinnabon manager. Like, but yeah, there you have it, folks. I almost said Breaking Bad. Better Call Saul, the final season, episode 9. Let us know down in the comments section what your theories are for these remaining 4 episodes. And we'll see you in the next one, episode 10.
Yep.
Later, folks.
See ya.
Asta.